Noble commanders, here before you lies our first phase for Operation Final Dusk. This will be the first, and I am anticipating 3 or 4, if things go wrong, particular missions that we will launch upon the planet of Concretum Civitas. As I understand it, and as the intel reports have suggested, and as we have mostly seen from orbital pics, this is the mining colony planet for the Orbita subsector. Taking this planet will aid us in the ability of creating a further war machines, ammunition, and weaponry. Since our taking of Dayron Prime, this planet will serve as the primary resource supplier for said planet. To this end, in the taking of this, we need to launch first strike and acquire an actual location for us to be able to essentially a forward operating base is what I'm looking for. So, as you all observe the map here, LG SmackDown will be a very temporary location for us, but all forces will be staging there. Initial map reconnaissance and initial foot reconnaissance have suggested that this location isn't enough of a defilade to be protected from enemy battery fire. Indirect fire, on the other hand, we can't do anything about. So, once your troops are on the ground, make sure that they are making all haste to Objective Manhattan, also known as Rust Fortress. This is one of the military complexes on the planet, and the one that I have chosen for our forward operating base. He'll be under the auspice of the Mechanicum, the Mechanicus, to fortify this location for us. Following us taking Objective Manhattan, I leave it in the auspice of the A-26 to decide whether they want to attack Objective Whiskey Sour or Objective Old Fashioned. Either one, because both will need to be taken for us to be able to hold whatever we take on this planet tomorrow. My suggestion...
Wake up. User was moved to your channel.
Oops, I didn't
My
mean to say
suggestion.
that twice. Sorry.
My suggestion will be that we either have my Astartes take one of the two locations, or alternatively, we can just absolutely obliterate one of the locations from existence. However, keep in mind, we want as much intelligence for our invasion of future planets as possible, which means both these locations are suggested to have some amount of the enemy's leadership in place. Particularly, Objective Whiskey Sour is known to be a headquarters for one of the two infantry brigades, or one of the two mechanized infantry brigades, as I understand it. I don't know why this... I don't care. So,
User was moved to your channel.
any movement inside those sectors will need to be methodical and be very, very careful about what they're firing at. Total war is not in effect. We want to preserve as much as we can in order to make sure that we can harvest as much resources from this planet as possible. So, Colonel Owen, I'll let you go and begin your piece, following LZ Smackdown.
Initial assault will be relative with the approval of the commander to drop down using personal drop pods, because the enemy will be able to see roughly of where those drop pods land. Relative will then disperse into the wilderness and make themselves hidden while they initially scout. Infantry armor will be on. Infantry and armor will be the primary force for us. We will all be on foot for the initial push. We'll move from LZ Smackdown to Objective Manhattan, where we will assist the initial force and take Manhattan. Once Manhattan is secured, infantry, where vehicles have been placed, shall lead that vehicle and go through the river off to the west side. Once infantry has pushed through, we will give them time to get into position, where they will assault it from the north. once vehicles are placed down for Venator, they will push south from Objective Manhattan with the approval of Paul Mark Biddle, with a fire team of Astartes to assist them to push down and to provide overwatch on the east side of the river next to Objective Old Fashioned. Once Old Fashioned has been taken care and it is no longer hung, we move back to Manhattan, resupply, rearm, then do the push to Whiskey Sour, with the objective to capture the enemy commander. We are unknown of when, if we'll have enemies push from the limit of advance, but we anticipate that will be happening. That is the joint of the plan that we have right now. Hi, Mark.
Very well. My main concern in this is if we lose Objective
Hey, wake
Manhattan.
up.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Inquisitor. Did you want to make a intelligence brief?
Good evening, sir. I do believe that it would be helpful for an intelligence brief, as the
Absolutely.
Inquisition does have more current intelligence. Due to Blue 4 aviation assets having had exceptional success in their search and destroy efforts, hunting down enemy entrenchments, turrets, and otherwise fortified positions, orbital scans have found an increase in dust despite the already high amount of dust on the world, indicating enemies are fortifying more so. Orbital picts have further clarified that enemies have erected a series of bunkers roughly between objectives Whiskey Sour and Objective Manhattan in a line, pointed generally north. These bunkers do appear primarily covered and will make aerial assets less effective in their means to destroy those targets. We do not know what assets are within those bunkers, but they are hardened structures and they do have coverage from the top. Additionally, we do believe that the enemy has utilized fast cam, artillery scattered mines, in an effort to create obstacles to prevent advance from your LZ toward Objective Whiskey Sour. There is also a bridge between Objective Old Fashioned and Objective Manhattan. We believe this bridge to be mined. The enemy is aware that mechanized assets are not amphibious, and so I am in a slight amount of concern on if the water surrounding that island with Hill 31 there is actually shallow enough to conduct fording operations for the unit. If that is not the case, if it is too deep for Chimeras or Lehman Russes to cross that, then the unit will have to make the choice between bridges. We believe the bridge in vicinity of the supply post just east of Objective Old Fashioned is mined. The bridge to the south will face further contestment due to fortifications within Concretum City if the unit chooses to take that route, and might end up pincered between Concretum City proper and Objective Old Fashioned. Objective Whiskey Sour is likely to have fortifications around it as well. But again, we believe that these are primarily obstacles in the forms of mines in order to funnel, Blue 4 elements into less favorable positions. Objective Manhattan is already a fortified position. I know you have imagery of it, and it already occupies higher ground, allowing for improved observation in fields of fire from those hardened bunkers, which are likely to be manned by some of the best forces on the planet due to its military nature. We do assess there will be Chaos Space Marines at that location.
Excellent. I haven't had a chance to kill Black Legion in the recent months. This will be a good change of pace.
Be advised that due to it being Black Legion, they are very likely to intentionally try to conduct decapitation strikes on your C2 nodes. Your command elements need to be mobile at all times, lest Black Legion hones in on them in an effort to disrupt your operations by killing your command structure.
Is there any intelligence suggesting of any leadership elements within Objective Manhattan?
We do not have positive identification on enemy leadership, but due to the military nature of the facility, it's not unlikely.
And how sturdy is that bridge to the south of Objective Manhattan, west of Old Fashioned?
Very. It is not actually a bridge. Rather, it is a land bridge, not not man-made. Nonetheless, it still presents a restricted mobility corridor.
Alpha Drumedan, do you think that you or any assets of the Mechanicus would be able to get guns up and ready to shell the rough location of that land bridge in attempts to try to disable the mines ahead of time?
If artillery is deployed, then there wouldn't be much of an issue. Our artillery crewmen should be able to make that happen.
If you could bring to the Mistress of the Mechanicus my wishes to, as soon as we are on Objective Manhattan, just do a light shelling of that land bridge area to try to lessen the amount of mines that infantry have to deal with. That everybody has to deal with, really, since everybody's going to Old Fashioned.
Copy that. That shall be processed forward to the Magos.
Lord Fiddle,
Yes, Primarch.
what are your plans in this operation? What is your coordinating efforts?
There's two possible situations at the beginning of the operation that Legion can take reins of. We can either go in with your flyboys, flying land speeders, probably low to the water to get to the location. Going with the groups that we can, as we are small enough, we should be able to divert off and take a bit of the fire should that be needed. The other option is to drop a drop pod to land into LZ Smackdown before the arrival of the Valkyries in an attempt to try and cause as much fire to be aimed at us to avoid these expected AA threats, bunkers to be a problem to the Valkyries. The other option is if we land early, we could try and move up and deal with as many of them as possible, so that there are, as we are attacking them, they will be having all guns on us, meaning they won't have any guns in the air.
I like that. And the faster that we can take out any of their anti-air capabilities, the faster that we can actually wield a greater advantage against the enemy. As we have all learned in the past, our air superiority is one of our greatest advantages over the enemy, as they seem to be lacking in the air capabilities. Though I don't know if they're just saving themselves for Kanme or not.
Possibly. The additional is if we go for the drop pod approach, I will not field any aircraft in the initial stage, and only once we've taken Objective Manhattan will I get an aircraft in the air. Only because having as many people available to assist in this attack, since we are also planning to have our Dreadnought, Contemptor Dreadnought to assist, as well as the possibility of having our Terminator squad to act as immediate QRF should it be required.
What is your preference then?
Preference would be no aircraft till we get to Objective Manhattan, due to the fact that I don't think we'll need any aircraft if we're. So we'll take a drop pod in, full Astartes, all airboys on the ground running with us to move towards the location. We'll land early, of course, ahead of the schedule. Once we've landed, we can also call in for dreadnoughts and Terminator boys, and with that intention, we can move up on this and go for a clear out, attempted clear out.
That those symbols are mines.
Well, attempted clear out. It stated that there was that the fortified area was in that area. There was no.
The fortified area is around Objective Whiskey Sour, though it's mainly just a deterrent. The actual symbology is particularly mines. That is a minefield area, known minefield.
Pretty sure we'd find our way around it.
Yeah.
But we could move a group onto Hill 7-6. Ugh. I hate this tool. You can move a group onto Hill 7-6 up here, the of Astartes, to keep an eye out on these weapon batteries at Objective Whiskey Sour, leaving the Terminator squad and Dreadnought to hold smackdown of any vehicles or infantry that may move up on our arrival date.
It's prudent. I approve. Very well. Alpha Drumadin, do you know of the initial plans of what Fabricator Locum Ravna has already determined?
Indeed, I have been mildly informed, yes.
Go ahead and bring us through with what her plans are.
The current objective of Hydra will be to make a push to Objective Manhattan,
Yes.
in which we shall establish our foothold with an FOB and make sure the Crusade force gets their supply of troops and the war machines onto the battlefield.
Very well. It was a simple plan to begin with anyway. Alright. Is there any last minute requisition request beyond the ones that we have already made?
None from Legion. We have everything available to us already.
Very well.
None from air. We have what we need for this operation.
Excellent.
Mechanicus is already well supplied.
Very good.
Infantry has already requested for defenders to be.
Per the usual. Alright. Then my last request will be, Captain Firefly, are there any particular concerns that you want to enlighten us to prior to stepping off for tomorrow?
Our carrier is going to be operating far to the south of the island, so most of our approaches are going to be coming from east or west as we'll be looping around the island. With my current number of pilots available, I plan on fielding 2 Valkyries for direct support of infantry, 1 for transport, 1 for CAS, and I myself will probably be taking up an Avenger to act as combat air patrol and also conduct siege operations against enemy anti-aircraft fortifications.
Very good.
Hopefully,
As-
before the end of the day, they'll be decapitated on the AAA front.
I hope so as well. As a emergency plan, Holbark Biddle, make sure that Valkyrie is well aware that they may be needed to run CAS or CAP, or whoever wishes to fly the Thunderhawk. Just keep it on a emergency standby. If we take so much fire that we lose our Valkyries.
Good copy. I believe we have access to a
Storm Eagle as well.
I
Yes.
will probably I'll communicate with the pilots and see which one they want. But knowing the pilots, the map might be a bit too small or a bit too open for the Thunderhawk for safety of Thunderhawk. So we might use the Storm Eagle as the
Whichever.
missile. Yeah. So I'll
Yeah,
keep that.
whichever they prefer.
That will be kept here.
Yeah.
Oops.
It'll be basically just the emergency plan if and this is if all of the Valkyries are shot down.
Will do.
All right. Is there any last minute advice from anybody?
I do have one, sir.
Go ahead.
I don't know that it has been considered or not, but it is worth noting. Objective Whiskey Sour is a larger city than Objective Old Fashioned. It is likely to face, or Blue 4 elements attacking it are likely to face significantly more resistance and a larger number of enemies. If Legion operates in that AO alone, it is likely that they will face high casualties.
Thanks, Inquisitor. Legion plan to just try and deal with the AA threats in the area before, and then probably pull back to Objective Manhattan. Probably just focus on dealing with any sort of anything we can see, Hydras or AA turrets on in and around the complex before, and then we'll pull back once the rest of the unit has landed to regroup.
I understand, Polmark.
Make sure they're careful. Make sure that they do not take unnecessary risk. And for the love of God, make sure they do not get bloodlust and just start going ham. Because they will die.
Of course, I'll be focusing entirely on the idea on long-range combat, utilizing possibly las cannons, and pulling back if we see things are getting a bit too dangerous. The main thing is that we want them to primarily be focusing towards us. We'll probably use the edge of the mountain to act as cover, popping up every so often to deal with stuff. And once the Valkyries have landed and we've confirmed that all troops are on the ground, we're pulling back.
Well, then, unless there's any other points that anybody wants to make. All right.
None at this time.
We've done well to make it this far. Make sure we are not getting full of ourselves when we get into the operation. Make sure that we're not making foolish and unneeded risk. This is only the second planet, and we still have a long way to go.
If I may, Primarch, there's
Yes.
an old saying, the only easy day was yesterday.
Yes. If there's nothing further, then you're all dismissed. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Primarch.
Ave Imperator.
Ave Imperator.
Ave Imperator.
Good luck, good hunting.